such a big thing, Mike.
I want to turn this around and talk a little bit about Steve.
Yeah, sport is for everyone. It's the common language between all the people.
Survive the ups and downs of it if you don't have a passion. And
hello and welcome to In the Game, Qatar's first sports podcast. I'm your host Steve Mackey, and I can't wait to introduce to you some amazing individuals. The podcast is all about the story, our guest story, the highs, the lows, the laughter, the tears. We want to learn what it's like to walk in their shoes, to get an insight into what it takes to overcome those challenges and how to create what is their success story. I'm a Sterling fan. I think he does a fantastic job, and it was definitely a penalty.
Hello and welcome to In the Game, Qatar's first sports podcast. And like every week, we have got a special guest, but this is a real great one this week. Michael Italiano, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for the intro. It's good to be on. And
I'm going to leave the intro to you. What do you do?
Good question. I'm Daniel Ricciardo's performance coach. So I have the lucky job of following him around the entire F1 circuit all year round, making sure that he's prepared to perform pretty much. So just working on his physical conditioning, his mental conditioning, and also making sure that he's eating and drinking the right things around race day, and also during our break as well.
It's your story today. How did it all start from you, and how did you find yourself in the position that you're in today?
I mean, in a nutshell, a bit of luck, but right time and the right place, the right time. I was studying in like the civil and structural engineering for like 7 years, and I had an office job in Perth, Perth, Western Australia, and I decided, I think at the age of 22, 23, I decided that no, I want to follow my passion, and I was lucky enough that I knew what my passion was. I had a very clear passion, and that was like health and performance and fitness. And so I started studying part-time whilst I was still working, and eventually made the transition and started a strength and conditioning business as a sole trader for myself back in Perth, Western Australia, and was training all sorts of athletes, training the average Joe, training the corporate guys, training a lot of mothers as well, and just really just built a really strong clientele. And then Daniel kind of came to me at the end of 2017 and offered me the job, which was a big surprise. And yeah, like I said, probably a little bit of luck as well.
The thing with it is, I normally, sometimes I try and get guests when they've worked. You obviously know that they've worked so hard, and you look up to them and you say, you've been so lucky, and you see their faces drop. Okay. But you say you're lucky. How was it lucky? How did it all, that word luck jump in there?
Well, I guess because the reason why I say that is because it was quite a big jump, like going from a strength and conditioning coach back in Perth to all of a sudden you're a Formula One coach. I guess there's no real transition path to Formula One as coaches. In particular, there's no real, I guess, way into Formula One itself. But yeah, I guess because I kind of knew Daniel back in Perth through some mutual friends, and he obviously knew what I was doing from a jobs perspective, and yeah, he obviously wanted to put trust in me, and he thought that I could help him in a lot of ways, and still that's very humbling to me. Even though I've been with him for 4 years, that's I still pinch myself knowing that he chose me out of everyone, which is great. But yeah, I guess maybe I throw that word luck in too generously. I don't know, but obviously when you get a job like this, you do feel quite lucky.
And there must be a lot of pressure to go with that. There must be a lot of pressure that comes with that. And I'll ask you some more questions, because there are some questions I want to ask you. But it's like, so you kind of you weren't even in this industry, and then all of a sudden you decided to take a quick jump. I've heard so many people getting into the fitness game. Because they just didn't enjoy what they trained to be.
Yeah, and you're spot on. I did feel the pressure first year. You have these self-doubts. Are you good enough to be the coach, to be Daniel's coach? you know, like you want to make sure that you are making a difference to his life and his performance, because, you know, it's not as severe, but it's similar to, you know, like a football manager. When the team's not doing well, the first person they're pointing the finger at is the manager, where, you know, I kind of felt the same. It's like, well, you know, if Daniel's having, you know, I guess a bad slump in form, you know, they don't just turn to Daniel, you know, they turn to his, you know, people that control his performance, and that's me. So, you know, there is a lot of pressure to make sure that, you know, you're doing everything, you know, in your, you know, as possible to make sure that he's performing at his best. So yeah, definitely felt the pressure, and definitely worked extremely hard that first year just to get up to speed on, I guess, the world of F1, how it works, and you know, the process of what Daniel likes to do from a performance and preparation perspective.
You say performance, but it's kind of, we're talking about you briefly here. It's like, how did you have to step it up? How did you have to perform?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the first year, I kind of told Daniel, I said, look, I think it's best the first year I just be a bit of a sponge. Like, you've been in the system now for, I think it was 6 or 7 years. So he already like had his ways of doing things, and I didn't want to just step in and change everything. I just feel like that would be a little bit disjointed. You know, there were obviously things that worked for him. So the first year I was kind of just a bit of a sponge. I took a lot of notes on my notepad and just absorbed everything from, you know, all the information that I think's working for Daniel, and then I take some notes where I think we could improve.
Yeah.
Read a lot of Formula One books about the history of Formula One, and just getting to know the sport a little bit better, because, you know, I was a supporter. I was watching Formula One mainly because of Daniel, but I didn't know the ins and outs of Formula One, and I thought, you know, if I want to become a really good Formula One coach, I need to know this sport, and I need to understand it a lot more. So obviously I wasn't a driver at all either, so there was plenty for me to learn. So it was exciting. First year was exciting, and learned a lot. Learned that you also have to look after yourself, Steve. It's probably one thing I didn't do in the first year, and I got sick quite a lot, and I came to the realization that if I'm sick, I'm doing Daniel no favors if I can't train him or be there for him. So yeah, I learned that first year that not only do I have to emphasize a lot on his performance and his health, but I've got to make sure I look after myself, because I'm no use to him if I'm always sick in the hotel room.
Yeah, that's, and the thing with it is just feeling that. Was there any time that you thought to yourself, this really isn't for me? It's not what I wanted to do?
Surprisingly, yes. A lot of people are probably looking at me going, you're crazy. Like, you know, it's the dream job. And yes, it is a dream job. But I got, you know, to give you some context, I got offered the job in 2017, mid-December. And then I had to move my life to London in 4 weeks. So I had to, you know, quit my job, sell my car, just literally move all my belongings to Europe in 4 weeks. Like, it literally was just it was a mind-blowing situation. So I moved over, and then all of a sudden I'm traveling every 10 days to a different country. It was a very, very big lifestyle and routine change for me. And I do recall the third race being in China, in Shanghai. I got quite homesick. I was quite like, I was a bit down, and because I was down, I started second guessing myself. I was like, why am I down? Like, I'm in this job that I love, you know, why am I down? And so I was getting even more frustrated with myself, because I was trying to like fight this feeling I was having and trying to like switch my mindset. But yeah, so I do recall it coming in Shanghai, and a little bit at the end of the season. Funny enough, we won that weekend in Shanghai. So so that was a good distraction. But yeah, there was a bit of homesickness, because I was very used to routine, waking up at 5, first client at 6, coming home at 8, bed, and do it all over again. Where now it was just like on the road, go, and living out of a suitcase, and I just wasn't used to it. And it just, yeah, took a bit of its toll in the first year.
Who helped you out? Who was the one that was the support for you?
To be honest, probably my girlfriend the most, and my parents. Like, I think the beauty about it is, you know, you can FaceTime, you know, your friends, your family, and your loved ones. So I think just having that face-to-face interaction, I think, is very, very lucky. Like, pretty much what we're doing now, Steve. Obviously, like, calling someone is great, but I think having that FaceTime when you're away from them for so long, it's quite comforting. So yeah, I definitely definitely reached out to my inner circle for that. I didn't put it on Daniel because, that's not, as much as I'm sure he's, he's a good friend to me, and he'd love for me to probably vent to him. It's, for me, I'm like, no, you should be venting to me. I'm the sounding board, I'm the coach. I try to keep that away from him. So yeah, that's pretty much who I turn to.
Yeah. And it's kind of, I've got to ask you, and it is that your real name, or did you change it? Michael Italiano.
No, my father would be very upset if I changed that name, but that is my name. I know
it's a great name.
I get giggles every time. I've got an Italian passport, so every time I hand the customs officer my passport, they just laugh. It's great. I get a great reaction from my name.
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I wanted to ask you that because I thought that it sounds too good to be true, that one. But brilliant, yeah. Brilliant. So what you were a coach anyway. You were a personal coach. How much of that I know that you had not basics. I don't want to say the basics. But how much of your understanding of what you did went out the window and you had to learn completely different, because they're under so much, they've got to be so fit, right?
Yeah, I think as a general basis, like the fundamentals that you learn, you can kind of adopt to anyone. But then there's obviously from an elite, like sporting level, there are obviously other aspects to it. The one thing I had to get used to, was actually quite hard, was having, 50 to 60 clients, all of a sudden having one client. And you've just got, all of a sudden you've got all this spare time. Like, yes, you're with him all the time, but, you can't train 12 hours of the day, so I found myself having a lot of spare time, and I'm not the type of guy who likes just to sit around and just do nothing. So that was another challenge in the first year, just kind of twiddling my thumbs a lot, because there were times where there wasn't much to do with Daniel, because I trained in the morning, had breakfast, done some stretching. He wants to chill out. I've got 3-4 hours free for the day. What do I do? Because I'm so used to working for 8-9 hours a day and then coming home and just chilling out. So that was also something to get used to, was just a completely different type of, work management and like time schedule, So yeah, I don't know, maybe it sounds weird hearing it, Steve, but honestly, I guess because you're so used to just working, 5 to 6 days a week, and then all of a sudden you've got all this time on your hands. You're like, oh, am I doing enough? Is there something I'm missing here? Should I be doing more? And you start overthinking sometimes, but that was only the first year. I'm good now.
But I think that's just because we always, even at my age, I'm 55 now, but even at my age, I'm always saying, could I have done better this week? Could I have pushed it a little bit more? Was there something else I could have done? And I think that's why I always see sportsmen and women and entrepreneurs so closely together, because they got to go through the same type of feelings, and you've got to be a self-starter. You've got to be pushing yourself constantly.
Yeah, exactly. And exactly right. And I do have a lot of that in me. It's like, I don't like just settling for mediocre. So yeah, I'm always looking for ways, if I've got spare time, to do something or be efficient in some way. So yeah, there were things I changed after that first year, and how I could adopt better time management and what I can do with that spare time. So yeah, so I started an online fitness business. So now that keeps me very, very busy, and it's growing very, very nicely, and I'm excited about it. So that's like my outlet from Formula One now, and I'm so glad I've done that, because it's been fantastic. It's a great balance.
But that was a dangerous balance, right? I suppose you kind of, it was like,
it's a risk.
Yeah, it must have been a risk. If you didn't perform or something was happening, now it's easy to point the finger, right?
Yeah, exactly. It is. You're right. And I guess that's where I just had to be a bit clear with my communication with Daniel, to make sure that, he understood that I was fully invested into him. But, at the same time, I need an outlet, and my outlet was, my passion is still health and fitness. And if I'm able to create a global platform and share my knowledge and education with the wider audience, then for me, that's very rewarding. And, all accolades go to Daniel for letting me do that. Obviously, being, I'm employed by him. He obviously said, yep, go for it, do your thing. I am quite entrepreneurial, and I am a risk taker. So it kind of fits in well with me. And it's been fun.
It goes into my next one, and you must have a great relationship with Daniel, and that obviously, as you said, he always gives me, talking about Daniel now, when I watch him on TV, because he is one of my, obviously I'm from the UK, and we've got Hamilton, and we've had an array of racers in the time that we all cheer for. But I've got something about Daniel is that you'd love to be in his shoe, or love to be out with him for one. And it seems like he's always a practical joker, but he's got his heart on his sleeve. I don't know if I'm right there, but is that the type of person he is?
Yeah, spot on. He's a very grounded human. He has quite a unique charisma to him, which I think, and when I say unique, it's his natural charisma. You know, he's not trying to be someone he isn't. I think he's quite comfortable in his own skin, and that's important, especially when you're in front of the camera a lot. And I think him just being who he is, you know, comes across very natural and relatable to all the viewers that actually see him on camera. They see that he's just being himself, and if people don't like it, then people don't like it. But that's just him. He's the funny, goofy guy that, you know, he's a bit nerdy at times. He's a bit funny, and then sometimes he's a bit cheeky. But that's just who he is. And I think people can resonate with that and appreciate that he's obviously a very popular athlete, but also he's just being himself, and he's not trying to impress or be something he's not.
Netflix, and we're going to come back onto you in a minute. But Netflix, I know that I had a mixed feeling with Netflix. And I didn't know whether I liked him or I didn't like him. I don't know how it came across with the public's views on it. I'm just talking from my views. I did like him in the end, but when he was making that hard decision, I was thinking, oh, this guy, the manager of, I think it was Renault. Was it Renault?
When he was making a decision between Red Bull and Renault, yeah.
Yeah, and there was the French guy, and you looked at it and said, I was thinking to myself, you know what, Daniel, that's a bit harsh, but then it wasn't harsh. It was right for what he had to do, and then you warm back up to him, and you've got to be, as you said, you've got to look after yourself sometimes. But he seems like a great character.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, I'm sure any driver or any, you know, sports athlete leaving a team for another team, there's always going to be opinions. It doesn't matter who you are, how obvious the decision is. You know, there's going to be people that think differently of what you do, and that's fine. You know, that's, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but you know, you got to, like you said, you got to focus on yourself, because if you start listening to all this, you know, white noise in the background, you're never going to make it as a professional athlete. There's going to be too many people with too many opinions, and that can really drown you. You really just got to block out that noise and focus on yourself, and making sure that, you know, you're making the right decision for yourself, because your timeline in sport isn't as long as you think. You know, like it really does go quick, and there's some young drivers out there that are very, very keen to take your spot, and you know, your spot could be taken quicker than you actually think. You know, like you know, it's a fast-paced moving sport. So yeah, you know, I think Netflix has been great because it's kind of informed the viewers of what actually happens behind closed doors, why, you know, drivers and managers are doing what they do. And yeah, I think Netflix explained or gave enough context to why Daniel made the decision he did. Yeah,
I love the teamwork. The teamwork was absolutely, I felt that I watched all 2 series and I thought it was fascinating, but I love the way that everybody pulls together, or it seems like it's pulling together. And is it great to be part of a team?
Yeah, definitely. Especially when, you know, the morale's up and there's a bit of a winning spirit, or, you know, and that's something that I've been lucky enough to experience. And I'm currently experiencing now. You know, like it's an exciting time with Mclaren. You know, their trajectory in the sport in the last 3 years has been immense. It's been great. You know, we've got a win this year for Mclaren, first time in ages. I think 9 years, if you correct me if I'm wrong, 9 years since they last won. So yeah, there is a quite a unique buzz around Mclaren at the moment, and I'm very excited of where this team can go. And they're very well united, and you know, that goes all credit to the upper management of Mclaren that built this morale. And yeah, it's funny because like come Sunday, you know, you think it's an individual sport, it's just the driver and that's it. But no, it's very much a team sport. Like if that car ain't going out without the support of, you know, the 100 race team that actually travel there, but then also the hundreds of people back at the factory who are also working hard. So you can't forget about those people as well.
the emotion is immense. You see it and you think to yourself, you just want to be a part of it. And I suppose that's the love of it. It's you just like to touch it for 1 second. It's fantastic. Now, why do the drivers have to be so fit? It's like, what do the drivers have to go through?
Yeah, well, the car goes really fast. So what these guys experience is G-force. So G-force is just a force that's, pretty much endured from on the body, from braking, turning, accelerating. So they're fighting the car constantly for 2 hours. So they're in this, they're in this isometric hold for 2 hours, which is quite exhausting. And so that from a physical perspective is quite tough, especially on the neck and their posterior chain. So their calves, hamstring, glutes, and lower back. So they do have to be strong and have, quite a high level of strength endurance to them. And what people also have to understand is, they're in these fireproof suits, which are not made for ventilation at all. So, they're in this car, they're very close to a hot engine. They're very close to, the asphalt, which is always quite hot as well from racing. So their thermal temperature, so their inner body temperature, rises, quite a bit. So, they're under quite a lot of, I guess, it's quite a lot of heat management involved. So there's a lot of thermoregulation. So dehydration is a big one. So, as soon as these guys become dehydrated from the amount of sweat that they're actually enduring because they can't actually ventilate their core body temperature in the car, that's when onset fatigue kicks in. And then when you start fatiguing, everyone knows once fatigue kicks in, your athletic performance starts to decline. Whether you're a basketballer and you can't jump as high, but in a race car, that's when your reactions can start to slump. And and your reactions start to slump, you start losing 1 or 2 tenths a lap. That's a big difference. That's when the fittest drivers come out the last 10, 15 laps.
And where are you at this time? Are you in the pit? Are you in the garage? Can you see this whether he's dipping?
So I'm in the garage. Yes, I'm looking at his times. I'm looking at he has an onboard camera just above him, so I'll watch his onboard camera just to see how he's driving, and then I'm obviously looking at times, a little bit of strategy. There's we've got 3 screens that I'm lucky enough just to have a look at. A lot of it I don't really understand, but I've got my three key metrics that I follow. I need to set some time with the engineers to really help me with what I'm looking at.
Oh, that's just, it's now what I'm going to say to you is you go through this whole thing with him. It must be it's got to be a personal relationship you've got with the driver, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think as a driver coach, I think you'll see quite consistently throughout the paddock that most of the coaches, well, I'd say all the coaches and drivers have a very strong relationship, because you're pretty much spending the most time with them. Out of even if you've got a partner, or you live with your family, you're probably spending most of the year with your driver. So you have to get along. You have to make sure that you build that bond, that trust. So yeah, it is quite important that you have a strong relationship. I do think if you don't have that strong relationship, it's probably not going to work. So yeah, you're right. You spend that much time together, you're going to make sure that there's definitely a strong relationship.
Do you upset him a lot? With your training?
Hope not. I mean, look, he's a happy chap as it is. So I'm going to say no, unless he's very good at hiding it.
Yeah. But the thing with it is, so you put him through this. Is it difficult to go through the fitness, like choosing the reps and choosing all those things? That's a big responsibility.
Yeah, it's quite challenging as well throughout the calendar year, because it's such a long season. And sometimes where you think you have a really good training block of 10 days, you program for those 10 days in between a race, but then all of a sudden he's like, oh no, I need to go back to London and do a marketing commitment. And then all of a sudden it throws your entire training block out the window. So you have to be very flexible, unfortunately. If I had my way, I'd be no to a lot of these things, but unfortunately, contractually, there's a lot of marketing days, sponsorship days, Mclaren days that he's committed to. So that can definitely throw off my planning. So you have to be quite flexible and just kind of be on the go and ready to change things up. But But yeah, during in season is more so just maintaining his fitness level. You know, pre-season is when we do the real hard work. And then throughout the season is where we kind of just maintain that fitness level and put a massive emphasis on recovery, especially like right now, you know, going into a triple header. There's not much training involved. It's more so just recovery, you know, sleep, massage, doing a little bit of neck training just to keep the neck intact as well. But yeah, mainly in season, we focus on recovery.
I would think this was pretty important. Have you ever been in one of those beasts, the cars?
I wish I could, but Daniel's got hips like a 5-year-old female. He's got quite narrow hips, so I actually can't fit in his car. I'm a lot bigger than him, so no, I haven't jumped in his car or I guess a demo car. And there's no real demo car. I think Formula One have like a 2-seater that they take like celebrities in as like a little, you know, an experience during a race weekend. But as a coach or as a team member, you can't just jump in them, unfortunately, and take them for a spin or get someone to take you for a spin. It's not that easy.
I was thinking from a like knowing what they go through so that you.
Yeah.
But the thing with it is, I've been on one of the. I'm a big guy, but I've been on one of those go-karts, and your forearms and your neck, it's like you're in bits afterwards. It's like it must be just that recovery rate. It must be tremendous fatigue.
Yeah, it is. Like they're definitely sore. Some races are more grueling and more physically grueling than others, but also it's mentally taxing. Like it's very mentally taxing because, you know, they've got over 20 buttons on their steering wheel. They're trying to hit every apex at the most perfect point, you know, for 2 hours. You can't rest. It's not like a football match where if the ball's in the attacking half, as a defender, you can kind of just chill out for a bit. It's you're on for 2 hours. So I do see, I guess, the physical fatigue initially as he comes out of the garage, but then that night I do see mentally, I do see him very, very fatigued. And that's when, you know, sleep and like I spoke about earlier, performance recovery becomes a big factor.
And then you've got you were saying all those things with the steering wheel, and it's got so technical to be able to focus on those things. Yeah. I can't watch. I tell you, where I can't watch the Grand Prix is when it's raining. I'm thinking that's just suicidal. That is absolutely suicidal.
Yeah, it's a talent in itself, driving fast cars on a dry circuit, let alone wet. And because what people don't realize, like the cars, they spray up so much water because these tires just flick through that water at rapid pace. So you actually can't see. Like it's simple as that. Like Daniel tells me, like if you got a car in front of you, you literally can't see. So you're second guessing that the car in front of you is going to brake at the same point as you, and making sure that you just hit your lines and making sure the person in front doesn't slam on the brakes. Really, it's I know it doesn't sound great, and it's just true. It is a lot more dangerous in the wet, and it's a lot harder to race. Oh
my word! I don't think you're going to have, well, famous last words. I don't think you'll have rain in the Middle East. Let's hope you don't. But are you all looking forward to coming to do the first Grand Prix in Qatar?
Oh, of course. Yeah, definitely. I think the new races always have like a big excitement around them because one, there's a lot of unknowns. Like, you know, there are some tracks that, you know, that we race at quite regularly where you kind of know which teams are going to be good there. You know, like Monaco, you're like, Red Bull's always good there. Abu Dhabi, McLaren, Mercedes is always strong. You know, Monza, McLaren's usually strong. We're like Qatar, no one's raced there, new track. Yeah, so it's kind of like it's almost like round one of a new season. You know, like that race one of every new season. Everyone's like, oh, who's the good team? You know, it's always that unknown, that race one. So I do like the new races because it's an element of unknown. It's new homework for Daniel and new homework for the drivers. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I heard it is going to be a night race from what I've been told. It's been confirmed as a night race because they were tossing up whether they do it at night race or not. So I love night races. I love the tracks under lights. So I do love Singapore, the Singapore race and the Abu Dhabi race. So yeah, more night races, the better for me.
It's going to be wonderful here. It really is going to be wonderful. And I like it that we could be there could be a real fight going on for the championship. And that's going to bring more electricity. And somebody like Daniel, he's going to want to try and get in the middle of it.
Yeah, being a new track, it's a new opportunity, right? If you're better prepared than the rest of the drivers, and you've done your homework and you've worked harder, then you're going in with a slight advantage. So looking forward to Qatar, looking forward to Saudi. Like, again, another two new races coming up. So it's it's going to be fun. Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to it. Who's been your inspirations? Who's to get to where you are? And you look a young guy, so you've done really well. But who's the ones that you've always looked up to? Who's those inspirations?
So growing up, I was an athlete, and I was very serious about my sport. And so growing up, I had sport role models. So like, mainly because of just what they achieved. So like Steven Gerrard for me was always like an idol to me. I loved his loyalty to Liverpool. I loved him as a leader. So I've always really clinged on to leaders, because I've always wanted to be a leader myself. So I looked at him and I thought he's the epitome of a leader, and the way he conducted himself. So that was him growing up. And then I know it's very cliche, but to be honest, Daniel inspired me a lot, like being a Perth boy himself, doing so well on a world stage. It gave me the belief that, well, okay, I'm in a small town here, but that doesn't mean I can't do big things like Daniel does. You know what I mean? Like, just because we're from Perth doesn't mean we can't go and shock the world. And so he did give me the belief that, that I could be, a great coach and go further than Perth and do something on a world level, and, be in professional sport, which I am in now. And, that's something that I look at now. I'm like, I'm so grateful to be in Formula One, but my mind's also looking bigger. Like, how else can I keep improving? Do I stay in Formula One? Do I try a different professional sport? Start my own online business? So it's kind of given me the belief to do these entrepreneurial things that I've had in the back of my mind, which is just like, just do it and go for it.
Yeah, and that's the message. It's a brilliant message. And I am going to say this, I get this feeling that Daniel's is pushing you all the way. He wants you to succeed too.
Yeah, of course. Like, we're like-minded guys. We're friends, and obviously he took me on board, and he's showing me the world, and he's backed me to do a big job. And he knows that I'm working really hard for him, and so yeah, I guess his success is my success, and then vice versa. My success is his success as well, because he's kind of like brought me into that world, and he's like, all right, here you go for it.
How do you keep how do you keep those juggle? How do you keep it with the two jobs?
It is tough. I will say, like, come race weeks, like now, it's full focus on Formula One and making sure that Daniel is ready to go, because each race is a massive opportunity. So it's kind of when we kind of have a 7-day break between races, or a 10-day break, that's kind of where I'll set some time aside to plan Daniel's week if we're not together, and then move on to my commitments. But I think if there's an entrepreneur or entrepreneurs listening to this podcast, Steve, I think people will definitely relate that there are long hours. Sometimes you're up late at night over a race weekend to get things done for the business, or you're up early because you got to get a handle on things as a business owner. So yeah, don't get me wrong. There are times where I'm working long hours, but no one forces me to work. I choose that. That's the power I like.
and do you love what you do?
100%. Like, I wouldn't be here if I didn't love it. I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't be smiling if I didn't love what I do. And as soon as I feel that love starting to go, that's when I'll make a decision, what I do next. I'm very honest with myself, and I wouldn't just stay in something that I'm not enjoying. It's the whole reason why I transitioned out of my job in the first place. It's because I felt that love and passion actually, declining. So I made a move, and then this is where I am. So yeah, like I said, good fortune, but also I took the plunge in following what I felt. Go with your gut feeling.
These are brilliant messages for people out there, honestly. They really are. And there's going to be so many people that's going to empathize, and possibly you're going to encourage to take that step. That's it.
I hope so.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And I've got a shout out for your website, and it's very easy. It's michaelitaliano.com. So if anybody wants to get in contact with you and be your trainee, then that's how they get in contact with you.
100%. Yeah. My website or my Instagram is where usually people message if they want my coaching services. So you can get me on there.
I kind of, and if I didn't, because she made it all possible, Sheena, and she's one of your students too, right?
She's a client of mine. Yes. So Sheena is, I do online coaching with Sheena. So she's one of my platinum clients. So I have two products. I have a gold package and a platinum package, and she's part of my platinum program. And she's amazing. She's very committed to what I've dished out to her from a training and nutrition perspective. And very grateful that I have such amazing clients like her that give me this opportunity to speak to people like you.
No, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and I'm so lucky because I feel that you're an inspiration yourself. Honestly, you're an inspiration. You go and enjoy your life. Do whatever you want to do. You seem like your smile, everything. I'm feeling such a great buzz from you, and boy, would I like to be in your shoes, but I wouldn't want the pressure.
No, thanks, Steve. I appreciate the kind words, and yeah, look, that's one of the things I love talking about is, I was always resisting on my fear of change and pushing myself outside my comfort zone. And that initial feeling of pushing myself outside that comfort zone and changing jobs and not having a clear income, I had to start with 0 clients, so all of a sudden I've gone from this comfortable income to no income. And I learned a lot about myself. I learned that when you put yourself in vulnerable situations, you learn to hustle, you learn to figure things out, and you challenge yourself. And that's something that I think is just one of the most valuable lessons you can learn within yourself. So if you're listening and you're on the fence of actually doing something that you're absolutely petrified doing, I'd say do it. I'd say, what's the worst that could really happen?
If you can pull some tickets when you're over here and we can get in on the Wednesday, then I'm all in. I'll be with you.
The Wednesday? There's nothing on the Wednesday.
What was it? Sheena said, make sure you mention to him about the media day.
Oh, okay. So media days are on Thursday, and then the practice starts Friday, quali Saturday, race Sunday.
If you need something to do in Qatar, give me a call, okay? I'll leave you my telephone number. Okay, it has been an absolute pleasure, and the time has flown by. But what a privilege to be able to speak to you and get some of your kind of what you go through. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much indeed.
No, pleasure. I love talking about this. I could talk all day. So thanks, Steve.
Thank you so much indeed, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed the show today. Again, thank you so much, Michael. It's been an absolute privilege, and I'm really honoured that you came on today.
No, you're welcome. Looking forward to seeing all the fans out in Qatar. Haven't seen much of Qatar, so I'm excited.
You just give me a call. Thank you so much indeed. Everybody, thanks for listening. See you next week. Thank you.
Everyone, thank you for listening. Please send us your feedback on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter. And don't forget to review us on your favorite podcast app.